There's been more buzz around the Las Vegas Raiders and their potential move for a quarterback. After hiring Pete Carroll, rumors quickly started circulating about a possible reunion between Carroll and his former Seattle Seahawks quarterback, Russell Wilson. At first, it was mostly speculation, but now NFL insider Ian Rappaport has weighed in on the situation. Here's what he had to say. Pete Carroll, at 73, is one of the most energetic coaches in the NFL, and he's facing a major decision with the quarterback position. The Raiders are still in need of a quarterback, and it's worth noting that one of Pete Carroll's close friends is Russell Wilson. From what I understand, Wilson actually wanted to play for the Raiders last year, but it didn't happen. There's a good chance this reunion could be something that gets discussed. This statement from Rappaport adds a lot of weight to the idea of Russell Wilson possibly joining the Raiders. He mentioned that Wilson had shown interest in coming to Las Vegas before, but the timing never worked out. Over the years, there's been plenty of trade rumors involving Wilson, and the Raiders were often a team linked to him. It seems like Wilson has always had some level of interest in joining the Silver and Black. Now, with Pete Carroll in the mix, the possibility of that happening seems even more likely. In a video I posted yesterday, I raised some concerns about the relationship between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. It's still unclear exactly what happened between them during Wilson's time in Seattle, but the connection between the two could definitely make a reunion appealing for both sides. When Russell Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos, there was a lot of speculation about what went wrong. Many people believed there was some sort of feud between him, Pete Carroll, and Seahawks GM John Schneider. However, it now seems that this might have been an exaggerated story, or perhaps Russell and Pete have worked through their differences since then. As Ian Rappaport mentioned, the two still maintain a close personal relationship. Personally, I'm not sure how excited I would be about the idea of Wilson reuniting with Carroll in Las Vegas. While I understand that they had a lot of success together, winning the Super Bowl and making back-to-back appearances in the big game over 10 years ago, a lot has changed since then. 10 years is a long time in the NFL, and both Wilson and Carroll may be past their prime. I don't feel confident that adding Russell Wilson to the Raiders would automatically make them a true contender in the AFC. At this stage in his career, Wilson might be better suited as a bridge quarterback for a year or two, allowing the Raiders to focus on developing a younger QB through the draft. That's where bringing in Wilson could make sense for the Raiders. He could start for a short time while they groom their future quarterback. The big question, though, is what Wilson's market would look like if this move were to happen. Last season, it would have been a great opportunity for the Raiders to bring in Russell Wilson on a veteran minimum contract, especially with the Denver Broncos still responsible for most of his salary. But now, with Wilson becoming an unrestricted free agent again, the situation has changed. Veteran quarterbacks like him are typically valued between $35 million and $40 million, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of market he attracts this time around. At a minimum, a contract for Russell Wilson might fall around 2 years for $30 million per year, but given the current market, he could very well earn more than that. The big question is how many teams will be interested in him. Right now, the most likely suitors appear to be the Raiders and, potentially, the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's hard to imagine any other teams pushing hard for Wilson at this point in his career, especially considering he's about to turn 36. His best years are behind him, but as I mentioned in yesterday's video, he's still shown that he can be a solid and reliable starting quarterback. Last season, he only played 11 games with the Steelers, throwing 16 touchdown passes and just 5 interceptions. The year before, with the Denver Broncos, despite a tough situation under head coach Sean Payton, Wilson still managed to put up over 3,500 passing yards, 26 touchdown passes, and 8 interceptions. At this stage in his career, Wilson may not be the superstar he once was, but he can still be productive and provide some stability at the quarterback position. At the very least, he offers a solid floor for whichever team signs him. With Pete Carroll coming on board and signing a 3-year contract, it's clear that the Raiders are aware of his age and want to see what he can do with the team in a short period of time. Carroll will need to show progress from year 1. At the very least, he'll need to prove that the team can be competitive in the AFC. Of course, it's still very early in the offseason, and a lot can change, but I wouldn't be surprised if Pete Carroll could turn this team around from a 4-win season to one that's winning 7 or 8 games and fighting for a playoff spot. However, for that to happen, the Raiders will need a reliable option at quarterback. They can't afford to repeat the chaos from last season, where there were multiple quarterbacks starting due to injuries and inconsistency. Gardner Minshew, Aiden OConnell, and others all took snaps. That's just not the way to build a successful team. With Carroll coming in, we don't really know what he thinks about Aiden OConnell, but I doubt any new coach would want to fully rely on him right away. They're likely going to look for a veteran quarterback to at least serve as a bridge for the future. Given Pete Carroll's history with Russell Wilson, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders explored that option, especially if Wilson is open to the idea. Another name to keep an eye on is Gino Smith. With the Seattle Seahawks, there's some uncertainty about his future. Will they try to trade him, or could they even release him to save cap space? That's another potential quarterback option for the Raiders to consider. Personally, I'm not sure how excited I would be about Russell Wilson joining the Raiders. As I mentioned earlier, he would have to be a bridge quarterback at this point. He could give the team a solid year or two, but only under the condition that they draft and develop a young quarterback to eventually take over. One of the biggest challenges for Pete Carroll and this Raiders offense heading into the 2025 season is going to be figuring out how to get the running game going. Another key question is who the offensive coordinator will be. The good news for the Raiders is that this year's draft is loaded with talent in both the interior offensive line and the running back position. The team also has plenty of cap space to make some moves in free agency, so there's no reason they shouldn't be able to bring in a talented young running back and strengthen the offensive line. If they can do that, they'll hopefully establish a solid, reliable running game, which will be crucial for a quarterback like Russell Wilson, who thrives in a play-action system. I'm also curious to see who the Raiders bring in as their offensive coordinator. Will Pete Carroll look for someone new, maybe a younger coach, or will he lean on someone he's worked with before? There's the possibility he could bring in Shane Waldron, his former offensive coordinator in Seattle, or Darrell Bevell, who was also with the Seahawks during Wilson's time there. The interesting thing about Bevell, though, is that Pete Carroll actually fired him after the 2017 season, so it's unclear if that would be a reunion Carroll would be open to. I'm not sure if bringing in Russell Wilson would be the best move either, but it's definitely something to consider. Ultimately, the success of this offense next season will depend on several factors, including who they bring in as offensive coordinator. But right now, it looks like the possibility of Wilson joining the Raiders is a real one. Raider Nation, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think Russell Wilson would be a good fit for the Silver and Black? Let me know in the comments below. That's all I have for you guys in today's video. If you're new to the channel and you love Raiders-related content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.